Williamson here, and the secret history of living in your aquariums. So, we have things to point at today. So, we've done some fancy finger work. How is everybody doing on this lovely, well, here it's just rainy as all get out. But we got a new lawnmower. My wife and I bought a Toro. It's a bull that makes us stronger than a bull if we're controlling the bull. That would make us better than said bull. So that's cool. Other than that, what else is new? I have some baby fish that are new. That's pretty cool. How is everybody doing? How is everyone filtering in here? Also, I want to give a special shout out to Daniel Butts, who is or just got out, if he's not still there, in the ICU. He was fighting the virus and was not in good shape, on a ventilator and everything. It sounds like one of our very active community members. And it sounds like he's turned the corner. He responded to an email, at least from his bed, but I don't know much more than that. Other than that, his daughter said he was out of the coma the other day, and so that's good. But be careful, you guys. Be careful out there with the virus and all that. Also, in other news, I got my my vaccine. I got my second vaccine, so that's good. I'm good to go in another week and a half or so. I got it 2 days ago, and so my legs right now feel like I ran a long way. I don't know. I've just felt tired and a bit sore, but it sounds like that's pretty common. So, in any case, today we want to discuss the lovely psychology of fish. So the idea being that a lot of people would say, Alex, fish don't have logic. They're not self-aware, most. What do you mean psychology? Well, I would argue that means that we need to understand their thinking process, whether you want to call it psychology or instinct or whatever. I would argue that means we need to know that better, because that helps us figure out why they behave the way they do when they do. And I mean, this could be anything from, what we're going to be doing is looking at nature, photos of it or in the tanks or whatever, and then we'll be making a point of figuring out what we can learn from that, and then hopefully you guys can do the same. I mean, it's not a superpower. It's just a way of critically thinking and looking at a scene, a biotope, and biotope meaning the specific ecosystem, like a specific river or a specific part of a lake, like a certain bay in a lake where these one cichlids live, something like that. But I mean, everything from should you have bright light over your tanks, red light, blue light, diffuse light, what kind of vegetation, thin leaf, thick leaf, should your water and leaves be moving a lot with flow, do you need a power head, all these kind of things have a big role in the psychology or instinctual response of fish and shrimp and plants, for that matter. And beyond all that, we can also draw a lot of macro observations. So you look at a mountain range, and the way a mountain range organizes itself due to gravity, physics, and geology, and the property of stone being dense, and trees and wind and freezing and thawing and all of that, it is predictable. And so when us as humans see something that's supposed to be natural looking and it doesn't follow those rules, in archaeology, if you don't know, I have an archaeology background. they're called rules of deposition, and there's a certain order in which things happen. There's a certain order. Usually, I mean, there are odd cases where instead of being banded horizontally, the Earth has flipped a chunk, and the mountains are going up and down, and the stripes are going vertically rather than horizontally. And then there's other stripes coming the other way of sediment, and you've got mixes and stuff. But for the most part, that the densest, finest stuff is going to work its way down, and the lightest, biggest stuff, I guess, essentially, one or the other, either big or light, is going to be at the top. So just like when you pan for gold, the same thing happens over the eons in a river or in a lake. And the reason those things happen shapes, or I should say the fact that those things happen, shapes our hobby. It shapes our decorations. It shapes the way our fish behave, where they lay eggs, when they eat, what they eat. I mean, the way bugs come down, and in certain parts of the world, you've got massive protein dumps of insects, of cicadas and beetles, flying ants, locusts in many places. And this is like critical protein for them in parts of the year, where other places maybe it's crayfish, and what's important is ledges under the water on a rock face. And I kind of did a video where I touched on this yesterday, actually. It's just a nature hike, as it were. And I thought it'd be fun to chat about that. But as always, if you have any issues going on with your tanks, your fish, your plants, anything hobby related, and you'd like to ask a question, please feel free. It's just very helpful if you say at Alexander Williamson, or at Alex Williamson, or at The Secret History Living in Your Aquarium, and then type. That's the best way. Also, if you're a member of the channel, which is only $1.99, you get access to all my sources when I do a paper or a big research project, as well as now I think we're going to be doing some of my nature, trail, and hiking videos where I look at actual biotopes out in the wild. I think some of those will be reserved for members of various levels, as well as just any little tip videos and things like that. Anything that I throw in the community tab, maps and resources that I find, discount codes, coupon codes. Obviously, I pass a lot of that on to everyone anyways, but I did want to make it some more incentive, because you guys who are giving super chats, who are members, who are Patreon supporters, whatever it may be, who are sharing links and commenting, you guys are making this channel possible, and you're also allowing me to educate myself, but to more importantly, as I educate myself, or as I share things that I already have learned, we're getting a free education, and I'm trying to make it one that's a vetted education with actual scientific rigor applied to most of the research and things like that. I have a background with in when I went to college in doing a lot of research, in doing both history and archaeology, which is anthropology. The first part of it's anthropology, cultural anthropology, and material anthropology. And so I've done a lot of work and theses and things, compiling sources, trying to figure out what sources are accurate, that sort of thing. And I like to think of this channel as a place that's trying to provide up-to-date, we do fish news that you won't use, but it's interesting. Instead of news you can use. So in the vein of all that, all y'all who support the channel in all the different ways that you support the channel help out immensely. And so I just want to thank you again, as I usually do weekly. Now, the last thing I'm going to say that's an ad for me, essentially, Ah, you're looking at my fingers. I knew it. I knew it. I knew I could get you looking at the fingers with the Dr. Pepper, but you're going to watch where I'm pointing now. Um, the last thing I'm going to say is that in the link down below in the description, if you're on a device or a computer, there are links to some of my favorite stuff. Those are Amazon affiliate links. And so if there's anything that we see, so like say, I got this turkey baster on Amazon, then the link to it is going to be, one, the cheapest place we could find that turkey baster, and two, I get a percentage, a commission off that basically Amazon uses from their advertising budget that they'd be using anyways. So if you're going to buy something on Amazon, even not fish related, if you get to Amazon by using my affiliate links, it's an immense help, and it kicks me a couple cents to, I don't know, if you spent hundreds of dollars, it would add up to $1 or something. But usually, I get 20 or 30 cents when someone buys 20 or 30 bucks worth of stuff. So it's helpful. It adds up, goes towards the fish food and all of that jazz. But the other thing in the Amazon vein of things is Audible. So if you have not tried Audible, if you want to support the channel before we get into the psychology of fish in the wild and looking at some native fish as well as some new happenings in the fish room, and answering your questions if you guys need help with anything or a second opinion, third opinion, want to chat with each other, is that Audible is a really great resource for audiobooks. I do a lot of research and listen to a lot of it on audiobooks, so I can browse the computer and look up pictures and things while I'm listening to the story of a naturalist or an explorer or some journal from some Charles Darwin or something, and you don't always use information that you learn when it's seems trivial. It seems like it's about the life of, for instance, a concert pianist or a warrior in Japan. But who knows? Maybe there are principles of the way they made the armor or the technology that allowed them to make forges that then they could melt glass in, and then later that led to low iron glass and aquarium clarity in the walls of I don't know. So making connections is what I want to encourage from everybody. And so if you want, it's free, and it's you just sign up if you've ever signed up through Amazon for anything, then Audible should already be good to go. Just unsign after 30 days if you don't want it, and if you do want it, great, but you get 2 books for free, and I don't know, I think it's pretty nice when you're commuting or doing water changes to have that. YouTube's great for that too, and I've tried to put together a playlist of stuff that is, it says podcast friendly, and it's basically just stuff on that I've said or done, created, that is for audio-based listening and consumption. Let's take a look at some of the tanks. You'll notice that the algae is strong with this one, but all my birdsong, the Ceruphus gobies, are out, hanging out. They're not very colorful today. Last night they were blood red. They were the color of the shrimp. They looked great. But yeah, so let's see here. See lots of folks coming in, and I want to say hi. Fish Tropic, what's going on? Welcome. Muppet, hey. Aquaballs. Takari Endo, hello. Hello from Malaysia with love. Love your videos and how you go all the way into nature. Try your best to get the best results. It's really special from your regular channel. Please continue. I always learn so much. Yeah, thank you. That's kind of why we're continuing it here. Fish Tropic, also, yeah, go to the dollar store to get a lot of stuff. Yeah, totally. Go to the dollar store to get a turkey baster. I don't I don't know if I even had a turkey baster on my list of Amazon stuff because the dollar store works just fine. We don't have many good dollar stores in the Seattle area, unfortunately. Seattle's just such an expensive area that it's not a dollar. It's like a $5 store, most things. But Mr. Gromby, thank you. I see that you are signed up yet again as a member. I appreciate that. I really do. So welcome, lurker. Also, I'm the first YouTube channel you've been a member of. Well, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that, and I work my best at work my hardest, I should say, at trying to get at least 4 pieces of content and about 4 hours or let's say 3 hours of content out a week at least, if not 4 or 5 some weeks. Over here we've got the other gobies. This is the orange goby, orange fin goby, Mr. and Mrs. right here. And the other thing I did was I went ahead and threw in some different flavor of those Aquatic Arts lollipops, shrimp lollipops. They're not Aquatic Arts brands. Most of them aren't, but this one is, or two are. Two are this new brand that's made in the U.S., which is Shrimptastic Aquatics. And then the other ones are Gloss Garden, which are a big name brand out of Germany. So I thought we'd take a look and see how they were doing. Let's see. AIM Spiritfish, hello. Deborah Lewis, hello. What did I see here? I wonder if they have any Robert Monroe audiobooks. Listening to Dragon Behind the Glass, right on AIM Spiritfish. That is a great book. That is one of the ones I would for sure recommend. Usually it's in my description of if you're going to do the audio thing, the Audible thing, check it out because it's a great story about arowanas and black market and murder and crime syndicates and drug dealers and worldwide poaching and all sorts of crazy things. Yeah. But Ames, what I was saying is that there's links to Amazon products in the description of pretty much all my videos. So if you ever want to do some Amazon shopping and you feel like, hey, I can't kick Alex any money this month, but I want to give him basically the ad money that Amazon would have spent on you anyways. Oh, actually, they're coloring up red now. These are the Birdsong or Cerufus gobies from Aquatic Arts. New to the hobby. And then here we have a neon blue one that's just not colorful at the moment. But these red ones, they're very colorful a lot of the time. The red is very present. They will get completely colored up in insane colors later, but yeah. But what I was going to say, yeah, if you're going to buy something on Amazon and you want to support any YouTuber for that matter that has an affiliate link, just use their affiliate link. Even if you're going to buy motor oil or whatever, just get to Amazon through their link and they will get the quote-unquote credit or commission. And it's pennies on the tens of dollars usually, but it adds up. So let's see here. Fish Tropic says, Alex, on a scale of 1 to 10, how often do you really check your water parameters? That's a good question. It really depends on how the fish are doing. So in a tank like this one that has no filter, no heater running, and a medium light, and it's densely planted, and the plants are pretty much all okay. I mean, like, here's a dead leaf, but this leaf's been dead for frickin' months in there. And by the way, this flavor, the algae, I would say that is a successful shrimp lollipop right there. Wouldn't you guys? I think there's a few shrimp on this. Holy jeez, they like that one. So I guess we'll get more. I'll have to get more of those. Wow. But yeah, so I don't check those. But like in a tank that's had issues like this one where The angelfish died. The 2 angelfish died. I checked this one. I've checked it every 3 or 4 days for the last 2 weeks now, or however long it's been, a week and a half. 2 weeks, I guess. Yeah, I check it every day, or every few days, I should say. Something like this. This is a non-heated, also no filtration type tank. There is a filter in there so that if I want to use a filter on a room temperature tank, it's got the bacteria that thrives at that temperature in the sponge back there. But as you can see, there's an air line running through it, but no air actually going to it at the moment. It's all controlled at these valves up here, and it's just not on right now. But I guess before we start the show and look at nature and start dissecting the world of that whole fish psychology, I figured we will look at this tank, which we have pygmy sunfish in here from the Florida Gulf Coast, as well as from the region of southern Georgia and central Florida. These are the Gilberti or Gulf Coast sunfish. There are Everglade sunfish, Alabama sunfish, and a few others in this mini family, but they only get about an inch. Some of them only get half an inch at full size, and they've had babies along with some least killifish, also known as Heteranda formosa. So I figured we'd look at that, and then they don't ship those shrimp lollipops to Canada yet, as far as I know. Fish Tropic, but I think soon they will. That's the plan, yes, is to get shipping to Canada soon. Let's see here. Alex, what kind of shrimp were all over the lollipop? So those are Malawa shrimp, and also Gold Nebula Caridina. They're both very hardy. Usually Malawa, Caridina can be touchy, but these ones are like hardy beyond belief. AIM Spiritfish, thank you so much. We've got another member joining. I really appreciate that. It really helps. It's consistent money that I can kind of see. Okay, this month I've got X amount coming in. That's great. Then I can buy fish meds or, pay the crazy electric and water bill. Our water and our wastewater bill is like really expensive here in this new house. But here we go. Here is one of the least killifish, and these are wild, so they're actually pretty skittish. But as you can see, they've got a really nice band down the side. This is the gal that just had babies last night, or 2 nights ago, I guess. And we'll find some babies in just a moment too. But she's probably going to be really shy and just resting at the bottom, since she, for these little fish, they're one of the smaller fish in North America. And so when they have babies, it really does take a lot of energy out of them, as well as like their stomach gets quite sunken. It's pretty pronounced. So the other thing I did after looking at some fish habitat online was I realized that Florida has a lot of limestone. I knew that, obviously, but coral and all that. And I realized that this tank is mostly substrate that is Amazonia, ADA Amazonia. And so I decided that it needed some stone. It needed some rock piles for the fish, specifically for, both of these fish are found living together in the wild in Florida, but I figured that these stone piles would be nice so that the babies could hide down in there and all that jazz. The cool thing about the baby fry on these native fish is that they're not obvious, but once you start looking, it's like an Easter egg hunt. They just start popping out, and you see them all over the place. John Bobon, thank you so much for the $4.99 super chat. Very, very nice of you, and I appreciate it. Yes, you can colony breed with these, for sure. And when a tank is half underwater, half above water, it could be called a couple things. You could call it a vivarium, or a riparium. Riparium just means like a zone where two different ecosystems meet, or like in a river, and like where the river meets the river bank, or the lake meets the lake side. You could also call it a paludarium. That's a broader term for kind of any terrarium, so to speak. A terrarium doesn't need water or land necessarily. It's just an enclosure for critters. Um, and Takari Endo is asking, Alex, I get bubbles on the top of my tank. Is that a sign of ammonia? I can't get test strips where I live that are affordable. Yeah, it could be. If it's a fine foam, it could be a sign of that. Like if you have water that's agitated to this degree and you're getting foam forming, more than just, you can see foam here. If you're getting that, it could be a sign of that, but it doesn't mean that. And I know even where you live, you say it's hard to get test strips. Well, I would pay whatever you have to pay to get the drops or the test strips. You can probably get them if you have Amazon at all deliverable. Definitely get the liquid strips. They're definitely going to be available. So here again, this is another shrimp lollipop, and it looks like it's more popular than the last time. This is the Aquatic Arts bee. Was it bee pollen? No, this is. Which one is this? I've got the bag around here. This one is. Oh yeah, it is. It is bee pollen. So this one is bee pollen. And they really like the bee pollen. Now, I don't because it made my hand itchy. But I'm glad that it works. So the bee pollen works really well. And then the other flavor over there that was working well, I put one in here. Oh, holy jeez, I can't even see the stick. It's so covered. This one's walnut. So this one, wow, whoops, sorry. Let's turn that back around. This is walnut, and that is one covered shrimp lollipop. Holy jeez. That is impressive. So these are, again, Malawa, and the ones that have white stripes, if you see any of them, those are called Golden Nebula Caridina. But these are Malawa Caridina, and they really can live in all sorts of habitats. They don't need water parameters that are as strict as, say, your Japanese bee shrimp or Taiwanese, like these guys here. These are the crystal red and the blue bolt that I got in that big unboxing, and this is Artima right here. This lollipop that they're on. And there aren't many shrimp in this one, so it seems like it's working. Seems like they're digging this one too. Mr. Gromby wants to know, where can I find red shrimp? Bloody Marys is probably what you're looking for, or painted fire red cherry shrimp. But if you want the really dark Neocaridina, the ones that live best in the widest parameters, these are painted fire reds here, these red ones, and you can get a lot more like dark blood red if you get Bloody Marys. Like even darker than the top of this one is kind of their standard color, so I would recommend those. So let's hop into West Coast Aquatics. You have to go. All right, we'll have a good one. Too coolie for schoolie. I like that. Yes, Bloody Mary is a much deeper red than the Neocaridina painted fire, because the painted fire is just that, it's painted on the outside, whereas Neocaridina, Bloody Mary, their flesh itself is red. It's actually got red to it. So this is interesting. I don't know why these guys are hanging out at the top, but this is going to be a tank, for instance, that was asked about testing. I will test this tank soon, because the gobies usually are hanging out on one of the rocks in here. Whoa, I'm really zoomed in. Sorry, guys. And not normally, I mean, they could just be begging because I've been at the glass, but they're not normally at the top like this. And see, they're eating, so they are hungry. This little female is real skinny. So I will check this tank out and find out what is going on. Now this one is another bee pollen, and look, nobody is on this. Oh, one shrimp is on this stick. So go figure. Maybe it just has more to do with their mood. I don't know. There's the same Malawa and whatnot in here, so I don't know why they're not feasting, having a good old time. Very odd. Hey, Jerry says, slowly moving all my fish to a new place. Want to make a fish wall in the garage since it's the only place I'm allowed to. Wanted to know if I should transfer all fish together in one tank while I set up the walls. I mean, it depends on how many tanks you have. Yeah, Zen Ginger does have a great paludarium. But, I mean, what I did is I set up, like, 3 tanks in one day, and then put most of the fish in those tanks for the most part, other than some little tetras and guppies and the hardier fish that I knew would survive. Anything sensitive, I put into a full, like, 99% water change tank full of plants that was already established. Moved those over, the rimless in the other room, and this one, and this one, and the other 50-gallon. And so that allowed me to kind of just not worry about them, while then I got things set up with these other tanks. I think that method worked pretty well for me. I approve. So, let's get on to the main topic that I was going to talk about, which is nature and fish and psychology. So, first of all, let's just look at this fish. What we can gather from this big old chunky betta is that they like hanging out at the top. You can gather things like this by simply watching your fish. Now, the interesting part is this betta will not hang out at the top if there is no cover. It will hide in the bottom corner. So how would you ever know that? Well, you'd have to read up where bettas are from, and you find out that they are from flooded fields, rice paddies, little creeks, and flooded field meadows and things like that, predominantly, the Betta splendens. And what is in those flooded areas? Well, snaggles of stuff. And so limiting their line of sight so that they know they're not going to be ambushed from the side helps. Again, another important thing when you think about it is if birds are over your aquarium or over a lake, can they see down into and onto the fish? Are they a quick fish like a danio? Because they can come to the surface and eat a bug and then disappear back down. But if it's a slow-moving fish or a really colorful fish like a betta, then, you know, anything up above in the water can easily snag it. Now, there's enough domestication in bettas that you lose some of that instinct that makes them hang out in a certain location in the tank. But it all matters in the scope of things, especially with breeding and trying to get fish to spawn. A lot of times you need to figure out where they come from, what it is they're doing. This fish, did you see that crazy little dance it just did? I was worried that there's something going on with its nervous system, but it just did like a weird rolly dance, and there's 2 other males hanging out. Whoa, that reflection is annoying. Let's try to get an angle on this tank so we don't get that reflection. So here we have a teeny tiny little baby least killifish. Let's see if we can get it to focus. Right there. One born 2 nights ago. And already it's born, because they're live bears, with that stripe down the body. Of course, we lost the focus. Let's see if we can use my finger to get it back. Come on. But the smallest of these fish, there we go, even when they're newborns, are now ready to go and cruise on their own. So that lets you know that as a fish parent, you want to have really dense coverage for them. Unless they're a cichlid or some species that takes care of their young, if they're born ready to eat, ready to explore, they need a place to hide that's higher up in the water. Usually, yes, there are bugs at the bottom, there are little crustaceans and micro crabs and things like that, but here comes another one that's about a week or two old, and they're going to want to eat the little, if you've ever noticed your tank, you probably have little white jumpy bugs on the top of the water. Well, they love those little water fleas. They're not true fleas, by the way. And then here, where did it go? So here we've got one, and then another even smaller one, a little deeper, if you can make it out. But the banding on these is designed, if you look at the banding, you can tell a lot about a fish too. So what do we know with the black stripes? Well, again, it's going to be contrasting lines. So we want a plant in there to make them feel most at home, like hornwort, where you've got dark and light contrasting bands. They're going to cast shadows. And that's going to make these little fish feel the best. Right here, we've got another one that's a little older. This one doesn't seem to have the dark banding as much on the top, but it's got some on the side. And each fish is going to be different. And the ones that survive, that don't get eaten in the wild, are going to be the pattern you see the most of. So yeah, I mean, the thing is that these little fish, at night, they definitely come up to the top of the water and they feel very safe. Their bellies are white, so that when fish look up at them from below, when predators look up at them, if they're aquatic predators, their belly is white. And if you look down at them from the top, they're usually darker, so that they don't get eaten, for the same reason, as a camouflage. Let me grab... I'm a little worried about the behavior of that twirling fish, if you guys saw it. I might want to just set him aside, it aside for the day. Although I think I saw a shimmer of blue, which then tells me that maybe I have a male watching. It was very hard to see on the camera, hard to me see with my eyes, but if I see it again, I'll grab it. But the other thing is, these fish, like I said, they're from the Everglades, they're from the swamps. Hello, Mary, thank you so much. We've got a $3 super chat from Mary. Appreciate that super chat, Mary. I hope you're doing well. I know you just got back to your home, and I need to give you a call, my buddy. I know you were gone for a long time and had to leave the tanks and the fish, and I hope they're all doing okay, or mostly doing okay. If they're all okay, that's a miracle. I've never left stuff for more than a few weeks and had everything okay. But yeah, so what I was going to say, though, again, is about this. They're from the swamps. They're from areas that flood a lot. Now, what does that tell us? If we know that they're from, India, so knowing your geography can really help with fish. If they're from, say, India, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, the Philippines, Florida, places that get these massive storms with, 10, 15, 20 inches of rain or water. I mean, a third of a meter to half a meter of rain that falls in two days, what happens is the area floods, especially in desert areas, but definitely rainforests and jungle areas, it happens also. So the water will rise. Well, what's going to be sitting on the forest floor when that water rises? Lots of sticks, lots of leaves, lots of plants that aren't intended to be in the water. And, we can replicate most of that. The other thing that happens is the water gets murky. Well, we don't necessarily want murky water because we can't see our fish then. But the murkiness is what a lot of them use for hiding from predators. So you don't necessarily need them to have that. They just feel more at home. So sometimes people will actually, add a lot of tannins and do what we call a black water biotope tank. And that means that the water is dark, stained with tannins, and will look kind of like tea. Here I wanted to move these fish out where you could see them, the adults. So these are a native North American species, and these are Heteranda formosa, like I said, the least killifish, the ones that are from Florida. And just doing their thing, and it's their little babies that are appearing. I think I counted 12 or 13 last night. I came in with a flashlight. A good time to count your fish or shrimp is at night, and to just flick on the LED or flashlight, and from there what you can do is you can see the fish when they're not as colorful and things, but some fish will freeze in the light and not move, and that allows you to track them down rather than them darting down into the depths. And others will actually come to the light. A lot of them are really mesmerized by the light. It's like the moon, and they will check it out. Now this is a bummer because she just had the babies last night, this one, because she's so skinny. But she's having some issues and doing some twisting and turning. So I'm going to put her in here. Oh boy. In some moss, and that's fresh, clean water. And just get her away from the others. Like I said, I don't like to treat my tanks with a ton of chemicals generally. And so I've now been learning that, the longer I keep fish, the more I realize that I didn't need to dose an entire tank, or I didn't need to add this or that or change anything. I just needed to move the fish. So what I do a lot of times now is I'll move the fish if there's one or two sick, put them up here, and you can see this is my island of reject fish. This one probably has worms or something that weren't able to be treated ever. There's others with bent spines that were born that way, and then there's some that have had ick really bad or other things. I don't necessarily advise this. It's kind of an experiment, but I put them in this tank, and if they live, they live, and most seem to, which is surprising. They just seem to do okay, so yay for them. This is another one. Oh, hello. Aquatic Arts, as you recall, sent me some scarlet batis, and there's one of the glorious males showing off for us. But also one of the Aquatic Arts sticks, the lollipops. Looks like we got a Neocaridina on it, and we also have the long nose, actually the snub nose or short nose algae eating shrimp from Japan. And they're all in here with some celestial pearl danios, and right there is a female scarlet batis. Here comes the male scarlet batis chasing them around. They do that, and they will eat little baby shrimp, but it works out. Let's see here, anyone. Yeah, the video quality is a bit blurry on my live streams in general a lot of times. This tank in particular is a bit foggy because of the algae that I allow to grow, because all these loaches in here, you can see I've got the Borneo hillstream loach back here, a spotted hillstream loach, the bumblebee loaches, the shrimp, 4 species of Stiphodon. Here's that Cerufis Stiphodon, the birdsong goby. There's 6 of each of the 3, neon blue, the Stiphodon, neon blue, neon gold, and of the birdsong. Now here's the neon blue, not colorful right now, but you can make out that turquoise still. Yeah, it's possible to breed the Borneo suckerfish for sure. The Stiphodons are much harder to spawn because they actually need to go out. And right now we're looking at a female here and a male, and they're hard because they lay little teeny eggs that are literally just 2 cells. And then, oh, look at this dragon goby hiding. So hidden. And the 2 cells then go get washed out into the ocean. They just follow the flow of the river. And from there, they grow out in the water, in the ocean. There goes the rainbow thread fins. They're showing off for each other, the males. Males show off for each other more than for the females, showing how strong they are so that they don't have to actually fight. Can shrimp live in biotopes? Oh, yes, of course. I mean, any tank that replicates an ecosystem is a biotope. This isn't strictly a biotope because these plants aren't all found in the same location, but this is all fish and shrimp from the greater Indonesia, Papua New Guinea region. And the water chemistry is of that, and the lighting is medium, I'd say, medium to low, and on half the tank, they still have a dark corner, because that replicates the jungle, the Papua New Guinea jungle. You've got all sorts of mangrove and other plants that come in down to the water, and then you've got sand from the limestone and volcanic as well as coral reef formed islands. So we're going to look at some pictures in a moment and figure out what we can learn by simply Googling where a fish is from. You guys can give me a suggestion and we'll find out where they're from, the river or the lake, and then we'll take a look at just some regional areas, and we will find out some things that we could do to make the tank more pleasant for them, make breeding more possible, or more likely, I should say, and the like. Let's see, what's going on in here of interest? I just saw a bunch of movement, so I figured I'd pop over here. Oh, let's see here. So I just saw from Survival of the Fishiest, a $10 super chat. Thank you so very much. That is very kind of you. You said you rock. Well, you rock. Thank you. Really, it does help me keep going. It does keep me excited as well. There's always the little Pavlovian dog, salivation of money. But it's also just, it keeps the channel going for. The roof or the Pandagar wants some of this shrimp stick too. So, I mean, man, look at all the shrimp on these ones. The Malawa shrimp just love these. And you can see Malawa shrimp come in a lot of colors. We've got red, kind of an orange umber color, to a bluish green, to a yellow, to totally clear. And they change based on their mood, their background, and their genetics. A little bit of everything. What I was going to say is this is a tank, though, that is fairly close to a biotope with all the grasses and the floating debris. The fact that this doesn't look like a nice scape right now is actually very accurate to a Florida swamp or something. What we don't have is all the algae. So what I'm actually going to do is wait until we have a big algae bloom or till the rocks are really slimy in a tank, like this one here. And then I'll throw some in here for them to have a place to do that. The other thing is, in Florida, We have limestone and things like that. So while I have the pH buffered a little bit in here with some crushed coral scattered about, I am actually going to add some broken snail shells and things like that, just to kick it up a notch, and try to encourage those little... I wish they'd come out. I'm kind of waiting for the pygmy sunfish. They're a beautiful cerulean blue. The males are with black, and they're just really cool. The females are kind of striped, and they kind of look like the other fish, except for they have markings that are a little more like lines, a little more line density, I should say, and less thick. And then they're shaped more like a disc or a perch or a pumpkin seed or something. Hold on, guys. I'm just getting hot in this room. It's real hot. So the other tank that we switched things up and we got fish to spawn in is this tank. So another thing you can do with fish, I'm actually going to take all these layers off. Sorry, guys. Sorry if you get dizzy for a sec. Is you can take a tank that's just fine for your fish. So say like in here right now, we have guppies, or endlers, I should say, in here. A few different varieties of males. Well, this tank is neutral pH to maybe a little acidic. Sometimes it's like 6.8. And man, look at all the shrimp on that. They freaking love this thing. That was walnut. Who would have thought that they would want crushed walnut on a stick? Wow. With the samurai gouramis here. But livebearers tend to like harder water. So the harder water, if I wanted the livebearers, the endlers, to all of a sudden start kicking into gear, spawning a lot more, what I might do is keep them in a tank for a week or a month that had, you know, just fairly neutral water, feed them okay, but just flake food. And then when I'm ready for them to spawn, I would move them into a tank that's closer to what their real wild habitat is like. And we would have like crushed coral like this and sand, and it would be a lot closer to that feel. Here, again, the bee pollen one, they seem to be enjoying. Most of it's gone. So there's that. Now, the other thing is, that I was going to tell you about this tank down here is I had Corydoras in this tank. We still have them in here. But I moved them from my main community tank, and this is what I like to do, is I'll have community tanks set up in the other room, or small community, like I consider this a community, but there's only 4 species in here of fish. But there's a cichlid, there are the endlers, there are the samurai gouramis here, and then there is there's a border loach in there. So there aren't that many fish species in here, but they're in a community nonetheless. They're not just all together in one. If anything, these guys is who this tank is built for. But they're not going to have babies. They're mouth brooders. They're not going to have successful babies because of all the predatory endlers in here. The endlers would probably eat the teeny tiny babies that they would keep in their mouth. That, and they need a lower pH generally. So to trigger the spawning, we'd want to lower the pH. So what I did with like the Corys, wow, just look at all the blue shrimp just coming out of the woodwork to check out the food on the stick. Everything's better on a stick, I guess. Carolyn, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. I see that $7 super chat. He said, Alex, I got some pearl danios, not CPDs. Yeah, just the bigger pearl ones. They're 1 inch, but do you know if they would prey on neo shrimp as adults? It depends. If they're the fancy ones, definitely they don't catch them very well. If they're the normal pearl ones, they can get some of the males, like if they're that size and they're really in the mood and they see them swimming by. But that's kind of, in my experience, like when they go for it, they don't tend to hunt them down like off of the rocks and things like that. So as long as you have lots of good hiding spots and thick vegetation, and then you feed the fish okay, it should be okay, I think. Usually the pearl danio. It can be a little bit nippy, but usually they're pretty good. And Donald Wolf with another super chat of $5. Thank you so much. Encouraging, paying for the tuition of our other viewers. Appreciate that so very much. Misfit Reptiles and Aquatics, how are you doing, my friend? Always so good to see you in here. So let's see. Tori says, I've found bee pollen and walnut to be favorites. Fish like the bee pollen more, though. Interesting. It's an interesting adaptation. Biscotti says, hey, Alex, I recently got a job at a pet store trying to work in the fish section. Any tips you could give me to be a great fish guy from a customer perspective? Just tell them the truth. Obviously, you have to work with your company, but don't sell them things they don't need. And if you want to endear yourself to a customer, tell them, yeah, you can get this at Lowe's or Amazon or whatever. And tell them, like, hey, you can save money on the tank at the $1 per gallon sale at Petco or the big box store, but then you can come back to us, a local small store, or you could, or whatever. If you work at the Petco, that's fine too. But you can say, hey, save the money on this one thing so that you can spend a little more on, say, quality food or good breed stock that isn't sick and that's been taken care of well. Fish Dreams coming in with another $4.99. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Today we've got a total of $30.98 in super chats. YouTube will take a third, so we got $20 towards the fish room, and that is a big help, guys. Thank you. Regina says, what is the discount code for Aquatic Arts? I want to try the shrimp lollies. Yeah. The codes are in the description below, but the code, if you want 15% off your first order from them, or your order in any given period, whenever we renew the code, you'll get 15% off right off the top, and you'll get entered for a $100 gift card giveaway plus extra giveaways too. And that code is History Secret 15, no spaces, all caps. History Secret 15 at checkout, and then it is History Secret 10 or 10 if you've already bought something like this month and you want to buy something later in the month. But you'll get entered a new round for the giveaway, a new chance to win that $100 gift card and so forth and so on. Another $5 from Biscotti Nunya. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate all of you. All of you rock. You all rock. Thank you so much. Misfit says, doing good. Just got home from shop. It was the first day at work. Well, congrats. That's exciting. Dandelion leaves are good, Tom Patterson says, for shrimps and snails. Dandelion pumps calcium from the ground. That it does. And also nettles and things, you want to double check with the kind of nettle, but some of those fix nitrogen. Same with any legume. So it can be high in that. And that's for Aquatic Arts. That's correct, Ames Spiritfish. And they deliver anywhere to the contiguous United States. They're working on Alaska and Hawaii as we speak, and they are also working for getting into Canada. So Nice. Survival of the Fishiest says, I just got a $200 order from Aquatic Arts, not one casualty. That's rad, because they usually throw in some extra fish, too. So that's nice. Hey, look at the little half-beak hanging out here. These are a Southeast Asian Livebearer, the only ones that are unrelated to all the Postciliata ones. These guys are... Where are you? There you are. Very long, funny-looking fish. But they have live young, and they evolved that separately from all the other fish in the New World that do that, which is really cool. Also, if you order something from Aquatic Arts and you're like, hey, actually, I want to get entered into that giveaway, and I want the 15% discount, or I couldn't figure out where to enter the info. Like, I've had that problem checking out with them before, honestly. And when I used PayPal to pay, one time it skipped over my codes. And you can send them an email at their customer service, and they will make it right. Just say Alex sent you, and you couldn't figure out how to enter the discount, or you forgot, or whatever. And they will take care of you. They're good peeps. Also, they usually throw in an extra fish or plant or something pretty regularly, and tend to be a little more generous with our crowd, because you guys are my peeps, and they get reliable customers, and we get a reliable source. Aquatic Arts are out of the least killie, by the way. Oh, that's a bummer. Yeah, they had least killifish for a long time. That's where I got mine. And mine have now had babies, so maybe I'll have some. Did I clean my filter? Which filter? Hold on. Let me clean my lens just to make sure. The humidity in this room is a little high. That's a little better. This filter here is a new filter. So, with an old filter pad in it on this side. So, that's why from when we jump cycled this. But let's get to the part of our program after I just briefly touch on this last thing, which is the Corydoras. So, I looked at the Corydoras and I figured, you know what, they're not spawning out in the community tank. So my orange and black Venezuela Corydora, I got them, grabbed them, put them in here, and this is a new tank with very low TDS, really neutral water, like 7.0. And actually, it's a little lower than 7.0 because all the wood right now, the tannins are leaching. But literally the night I put them in, I got 120 eggs, and then 80 eggs in the middle of the night, early the next morning, then like 20, and then another over 100 eggs. And so what I did is I put them, and it was just because I changed it. I put them in a habitat that was suitable. It was okay. It was a community tank, like one of these. But it was not what Corydoras want. Corydoras like this kind of space. They want sand. They want some ledges. They want hiding spots. They want fresh water. They want moving water. And moving them literally the night of. And this happens with water changes. Rainbow fish are notorious for this. Shrimp are notorious for this. When you get them into the place they are, the zone that they should be in evolutionarily, they will reward you. They will have babies. They will act very happy and reproduce / move around, just act differently. And that's why I moved these guys. These are African river cichlids. Or sorry, these are not. These are apistos. I don't know why I said that. These are Penduro apistos, and these are fish that hang out in the rainforest. So I said, you know what? The tank that they were in, which was the well manicured tank out in the other room, that is kind of an aquascape with carpeted plants and stuff. It's not what they want. I mean, it's not what they live in. They look beautiful. They looked beautiful in it, but they want some algae on the glass. They want caves, yes. So they still have their caves, but they want very, very thick vegetation. They want mosses and leaves and stems and some stone and some sand. I mean, they want the Amazon rainforest when it's flooding, and that's what I gave them. And they've been coloring up differently, as you can see. The male's starting to get more of a hump on his head finally, and it's just really exciting. So, Fishymon coming in with the $2 super chat. Appreciate it very much. Thank you, Fishymon. Hey, Mr. Fishymon, tally me fishies. But let's look at some habitats. You guys can shout out some fish species in a moment when I ask for them. Look at these pea puffers. They're so curious. They're why so curious? I was hoping that this fingernail thing, that it would, yeah, it kind of does work. This camera was having a heck of a time focusing during live streams, and I was hoping that it would help me focus on fish. Here's the golden cichlids that we have, the golden dwarf cichlids, and the pea puffers that are living together so far in harmony. The pea puffers are definitely dominant, though. The little teeny pea puffers boss everyone around. Yeah, so let's hop on the computer in a moment here. But just another example of a community tank. We've got cover, so that gives them the feeling of being protected. No bird's going to come and swoop down and grab them, usually, if there's cover like that. The other thing is, the light is strong, but it's diffused. It's broken up by shadows. That lets them know that there is a tree over their water, or there are sticks or branches or lily pads, something that's blocking the line of sight of any sort of predators, and that makes them relax and be better fish, more entertaining, more apt to behave interesting and do fishy things. Takari, I would suggest you watch some of my older videos, how you can breed fish breed shrimp in a fish tank safely. I have a whole series on that, and on how to basically raise Neocaridina with the Livebearers, as well as Tetras, Corydoras, Plecos. I've done it in a lot of different combinations, but Livebearers work really well. Guppies and Endlers work really well, especially Endlers. They're smaller, or a small guppy strain with fancy fins. They move slower, and then they have similar water parameters. But more than hunting water parameters, if you can get close in water parameters, unless you're spawning a fish, really just consistency tends to be more important. So consistently giving fish a happy home is really important. Randy Roman, welcome to Lurker. I feel like you remember before, and probably when the $1.99 thing went away, because I'm a dummy and didn't know, it didn't alert me, and then I just didn't pay attention. That might have been the issue. Also, somebody asked, how did I know that the quarries had eggs? Well, I knew to check for eggs because I had just moved the quarries, and they were on the glass, so it was really obvious. I filmed it. I'll probably upload a video. Let's see here. Yeah, guys, if you want to hit the like button, I'd appreciate it, but if you don't, that's fine. What size tanks do I have? Rachel wants to know. I have lots of size tanks. I've got a 50 out in the other room. That's one of the Aquascape ones. A 22.5 in the other room. And then I have 17.5, 17.5, 12.5, low boy that they don't make anymore. A 10, 20 long, 40 bow front, 40 breeder, 40 breeder, 20, 10, 10, 20 long, 5, 5, 2.5, 2.5, 10 with a 20 long back there, another 20 long back there, 5, Oh wait, 5, and then 2.5s. So I've got an assortment, and then I've got a 10 sitting here in this closet of stuff that of packages and also trash from setting up a new tank, which you guys will learn about eventually. Let's see here. All right, let's see here. Let's start thinking like fish, people. We will think like a fish. And let me set up the tripod because I don't want to keep moving on you guys and making y'all seasick and that. But what a great turnout today. You guys, thank you for coming here, for being with me. Shout out to your families and one and all. Alright, let's see here. Booyah. Boy, that screen's looking dirty. Maybe I shouldn't bring the laptop in the fish room when I have wet hands with duckweed on them. You'd think I would learn. Do I? Never. Yeah, there are lots of tricks for raising shrimp with fish, or raising little fish with any other bigger fish, honestly. You can breed monos very easily. You cannot have the babies grow up very easily, unfortunately. They need salt water. So some people have done it, but it is tricky. A lot of work. Ames Spiritfish says, membership, I can afford $1.99 a month. That's so cool. Well, you know, I made it as cheap as it could be. If it was 99 cents, I would have done it. Just because, like, I would rather do that for a lot of channels and know that, like, if half their supporters did that, then it would end up being just a reliable income that they could focus on creating and giving back. So the people that I learn from, or that save me money, that have saved my fish, I am a member of about $40 or $50 now a month in channels, and then I also do super chats, and then all the merch in the link goes to nonprofits, which I decided. What's all over my screen? It's dried duckweed clumps, because I bring it into the dumb fish room. All right, so I need a fish, guys. I need a fish. Give me a fish that we don't know where it's from. Something interesting. I got 5 months? Right on. I appreciate it, Mr. Gromby. Harlequin Rasboras. Alright, and a Congo Tetra. We saw Congo Tetra earlier. So yeah, we'll start with those two, and then I'll ask for more suggestions later. But let's go with, we'll do the Congo Tetra first. I'll give you guys one guess where the Congo Tetra is from. It's the Congo. Yep, that was your one guess. So obviously, let's hold on. Let's see. Can we get rid of the glare? Let me turn off this light. All right, that's better. That's the ticket. Still no, not happy. All right. I would have it set up where it shares the screen, but we're not going to need that much detail for this little exercise. So these are going to be pictures mostly of the fish in captivity. But now we know what it looks like. So let's find out, as we did in the research video, let's go to a good authoritative website. If we're Googling, Wikipedia will at least tell us where they're from. I trust that. I don't expect that you guys can read any of this. The other thing, we should have probably searched the Latin name, which is, I think it's pronounced difficultly, so I'm going to skip it. No, it's Phenacongrammus interruptus. Interesting. But it says it is found in central Congo River Basin. So let's go to the Congo River Basin. Boom, what do we see right away? This is like the Mississippi, except it's near the equator. We know it's in the center of Africa. And Eve Howard, welcome. Thank you. Round of applause. Thank you for joining the membership. you guys have been very kind today with the memberships and the super chats. It really does help. Thank you. All right, so this picture is of the Congo River. Going to be a big wide river. A big wide river, don't you know? So those are big tetras. But you can guess that out here in the main river, since it's not looking super brown, right? We see a little bit of brown. It's actually probably pretty clear water, you know, pretty clean water. And you can see there's these big sandbars or swaths of islands braided between the rivers, the branches of the river, the fingers of the river, the forks of the river. And on the edges, they look pretty nicely cut. So just from this, we can tell that there's probably a little bit of TDS. You can see a little bit of fogginess here in the water. So there's probably some silt. There's probably some sand at the bottom, or mud. We can probably guess that. Now, we can also guess that there's soil because there's plants right here, like in the middle of it. And at an equatorial region, we got fingers of the river all the way out here. So this is a big wide floodplain. That's what we'll take away from this. And that tells us a few things. So a small fish is probably going to be hanging out in here. Probably going to be hanging out along here. You know, at these bottlenecks where the food settles. And if you know anything about a river, there's a cut bank, even on a slow river. So when water comes, it hits with the most speed right here. And so it's going to wash all the little worms and things out from this area as well as erode it. And it's too fast for a lot of little fish to swim against the current all day. So what a lot of these little fish, so like a Congo tetra, would do is hang out maybe right in here. And that is where it's all going to wash into. All those bugs and insects that are floating downriver, they've been channeled into there. And so what that tells us is that they might have a good amount of light here. It's not a thick rainforest, so we can have bright light on the aquarium, and they'll probably feel comfortable. They're a big enough tetra that a bird or something could eat them, but they hang out in schools. We know that if you did some research. And so you could have a bright light on the tank. You could have some sand at the bottom. You could have some silt at the bottom. And it's probably going to have plants in it because this whole thing floods. So all those things right there tell us quite a bit. It also tells us that they're probably going to feed at the top of the water and at the mid-water because they're going to eat bugs coming down and things. They're also going to eat stuff washed away. Just because they're in a river. If they were lake fish, then that might not be a certainty. But it's probably going to help to have things moving too. So now that we know Congo River Basin, we can take a look at a map, obviously. The Congo River is ginormous, like the Amazon. And we can find, you know, we can take a look at this and think, all right, well, we could look up a few other, like the Ubangi's another big river branch. But on the main Congo, you know, there's going to be very different terrain. So it's important to know what part of the river a fish is from. However, these fish happen to be pretty widespread. So let's take a look somewhere more specific. So let's look for mountains. So here I see Ulindi. Let's take a look at the Ulindi River. And just from Google Photos, I mean, we can tell how we might want to set up our tank. You can see here, we saw mountains on the terrain. Well, look at those rapids. This guy is fishing, and clearly he's using a giant net that goes all the way across. So he's catching big fish. I mean, obviously he's going to be eating fish. And with a net with that gauge that big of knots and holes, it's a good chance that he is catching something big. So there's predatory fish. So in this river, if you were looking at a tetra or a little fish from this river off the Congo, this is part of the Congo Basin, they would probably be hanging out somewhere underneath these trees and things. They'd probably have a very dark tank, or they'd be under this rock on the backside of where the rapids are. And let's see here. So another thing we see down here is gold mining. So this we can think of as maybe we don't want to look at that picture because gold mining is a mess. It really destroys a lot of habitat, puts silt in the water and ruins things. But it does kind of show us that there are regions that have palm trees. They have looks like in the water there's lots of eddies and currents. So even in this slower, calm part without rapids, it's moving quickly. Well, welcome, Stephen, or Stefan, if that's how you say it. Let's take a further look at this river. See if we can find some actual underwater shots of it, too. So we're looking for the Ulindi River. Let's see, what's this? What do we got going on here? We've got a big city near here. So, Shabunda. So maybe we can find out more about Shabunda, or we could look at a map and look at a specific mountain range or lake system that feeds off these rivers. But that will then tell us, so, I mean, what color substrate is it? Brown. It looks pretty brown. It's not red like Georgia clay. It's not white reflective sand. I don't even see any sand. Now, the other thing here is, what would the pH be like? Well, unless there's something volcanic or sulfuric or something, you're not seeing limestone. You're not seeing stone, period. You're seeing mud because this is a big floodplain. Or at least in between mountains, it is a big washout. And you've got mud here. You've got plants growing right at the edge, and rivers change height. So that's going to wash into the water, and any sort of debris like this is going to turn into tannic acid. It's going to turn into nitric acid and carbonic acid as it breaks down, ammonia, all that kind of stuff. So there's going to be a good sizable bacteria load breaking that down. There's probably going to be some nitrates in this river. There's probably going to be quite a bit of TDS. Not always, because total dissolved solids is not just things floating in the river, in the water, suspended. It has to be incorporated at a molecular level. So mud rivers can still have a low TDS in theory. Usually they do tend to have a bit higher TDS, though. So let's do Ulindi River Tetra. Let's see what happens. So we can get some better shots again here of down low. More mining. That's rough. So now we know these fish are probably going to be threatened in this part of the river if there's all this illegal mining coming up as one of the first things, And we can also look at other fish species. Sometimes if you can't find, so this is a vampire tetra, but sometimes if you can't find the fish you want, like the Congo tetra, you could look for, say, the tiger, or actually Congo tetra. Let's go with, we can go with the Goliath tigerfish. And this is one of the things that would keep that fish out of the main part of the center of the river, because this fish is freaking terrifying. They're scary. That's not one. Sorry. But that is. And these fish there are various tigerfish. The Hydrocynus Goliath. And so if we can't find a little fish Oftentimes, what we can do is find a sportsman species that's going to be in the same river. And what that'll do sometimes is give you a really good close up on the habitat um, of that. So, like here, we can see a lot more of the at water level. The bushes and shrubs come into the water. So broken light. I mean, this fish is going to be out here in the river. It's going to want those little fish, but there's also going to be trees and fallen wood and snags. Yeah, probably not the best algae eater. I would agree. These are a pretty gnarly fish. Um, they are. So let's try with the Goliath tigerfish in Ulindi River. Ulindi River. I spelled it wrong. Ulundi River. So then we get some more specific pictures. Again, you see these reeds and things? That really informs what you'd want to plant. We know the substrate probably. We probably know the water's slightly acidic. We know that it's flowing decently. So we probably want to do some water changes. There's just a lot you can tell from all of this info. So let's do another fish though. I'm just kind of going over this, and you guys will have to use your own experiences and your own methodology for all this. But I'm just showing you what I like to do when I'm thinking about how I want to design a tank. What did I say I was going to do other than the Congo Tetra? I said I was going to do White Cloud. White Cloud minnow is a great one, actually. Because that's a very specific, lives in one place. The White Cloud minnow. So, again, lovely fish. These are all going to be in aquariums. Right? Or mostly, anyways. When you just do a Google search on it. Hey, it's Mark's Shrimps. Or Mark's Aquatics. It's funny when I see my own thumbnails now, too. Or my own pictures. So, White Cloud minnow, I can't remember the name of the river that it's in, but White Cloud, found in Vietnam. There are only two additional species have been found, but so here's one right here. We know that it's found in Vietnam. That's helpful. Found in 2001, so they're relatively new. The newer ones, this species. And let's see here. Will it tell us? China, Vietnam. Does it give us a river? Oh yeah, here we go. Coastal province, isolated location. Quang Ninh province in Vietnam and Henan Island in China, as well as Guangdong, China. But I want to know if there's a lake or anything that we can find. And what all this is going to tell us. I mean, this is all great info because it tells us, how long the eggs take to hatch. That's going to tell us something about the substrate usually. Usually, if they hatch in 24 hours, your eggs are going to be laid in like rocks where they fall in between or on sand riffles that are like this. Riffles are very important in the hobby. People don't always think about it, but they are very important because, like salmon, for instance, need those riffles for their eggs to settle in kind of together, and then they clump up, and then the baby fish can rest in there. And by riffles I mean just little dugouts or little trenches on sand. You see kind of a diamond pattern. I'll show you real quick. Riffle. That's not that. These in the water. These are very important to many species. In fact, if you don't have enough flow, you won't get this, or the tide, or whatever it may be. And if you don't get this, they can't hang out under these little ledges. And as a little teeny fish, they get dead if that happens. They get exhausted. Or the other thing is, these act just like sand dunes. And so the leading edge of it, the top sand pushes over, the bottom sand rolls under and out. So it's kind of like watching a wave come crashing in. And the fish lay their eggs here, and then the sand covers it, but the eggs don't get blown away. Now, other fish like gobies, they lay their eggs so that they do get washed out to sea. So you can assume that they're not going to necessarily need the same thing. Now, that's not always true, but there's just these deductions you can make mentally. You could definitely have a wave maker in your tank to do that. Exactly. Cypriniform. So, all right, let's look by scientific name, because a whole territory or province is not very helpful now, is it? So let's see. We'll find out on. If you are a member, you can also go to my post last weekend and see all my fish resources of things like Aqualog is usually good, but they'll have collection points. So we'll actually be able to look at the exact spot in the river where they're found. They're diurnal. That's good to know. Schooling. I'm guessing they may be more shoaling than schooling. Where do you go to find these? The links and stuff, is that what you're saying? The community tab on my YouTube page, there are posts like a blog, and if you just scroll back a couple, you'll find it. But yeah, okay, so white cloud minnows. Yeah, the original white cloud minnow used to be called the Tannins fish. Yeah, there it is, Tannins fish, because a Boy Scout in China in the 1930s actually spotted it. But we're going for the white clouds. Now, by the way, the longfin variants, the meteor minnow or golden cloud minnow, the golden white cloud or gold cloud minnow is not necessarily its own fish. It's a variant in the domestic fish population. It's a gene that did that. Angie, hello. Eve, hello. Wanquan River, is that the river that they're from? Oh, they're also found in the Pearl Delta. So that's they're restricted to the Pearl Delta. I don't know where you found Wanquan. I'm just trying to do this so that we can all do it together. That very well is the river. But we can always go to Pearl River Delta. Take a look. Or actually, let's go to Fish Biotope Aquarium info right here. The Yangmei River. That's very, very specific. In the dry season, Mount Zhaomu, Foshan, China. So right here, I mean, this website, this is on one of my must-have sources. This is all information from a contest where they actually only use the exact things that are found there. Species of plants, fish, other animals, whether it's, snails, geckos outside in a vivarium or whatever. But it's also a contest of aquascaping. So sometimes they do take some liberties. But, I mean, you can see there's like leaves in here. There's grass. There's dirt with the root embankment, with the root salt snaggled and sticking out. On my nature walk videos, we saw that yesterday. And so you're going to know, too, that the water, a little cloudy. it's cool that in this picture they really show off all of that. So let's cut back, and it told us exactly in that one of the Yang Mai River, Yang Mai River, and images right here. Boom. So look at this, beautiful. Here's another picture of that tank. I mean, really cool. You can find some collection point photos too. But the grass is coming in there. So this would be putting potted plants next to your tank. Think about how happy and calming that's going to make your fish feel, compared to, you can bet that they're not going to be out in this. This is stock. This is supposed to be the same river, but my guess is you're not going to find those fish out here unless they're in a very large school, which is possible. They may school up very large and go out in the open, but yet again, we've got like lilies and cabbage, water cabbage, things like that. Here we've got, we can see sand, we can see logs of trees, and we can see that it doesn't look like a rainforest. It looks warm and reddish earth. There's maybe a little bit of iron in the water. That might be good to know. The fact that you can see that these cows next to the river haven't completely eroded the shoreline where they walk to the river each day, or cut into the ground, probably pretty sturdy ground. So maybe there's some clay in the ground. There's just interesting things you can take away. And then again, they've got the reddish earth here with the roots sticking out of it. And another thing to notice is on your aquariums, you have straight walls. So your river better be a straight drop off a foot in. Whereas like this aquarium is more gradual. It's a little drop. But to a fish, this is a monumental wall. Plus, they can see out of it. So do you want to block off the sides of your tanks? Which sides? Do you want them to be scared? Do you want something over the tank? Do you want light over the tank? This is all stuff to keep in mind. And we could go over lots of different species of fish. And I mean, it'd be fun to do that. Maybe we'll do one where we try to, where I try to, or you guys try to guess the parameters without knowing anything about the fish by doing a search like that one that we just did. And then we could try to guess all the info. I think that could be kind of fun. But we don't need to do that today in the interest of time. But let's take a look at the other aquarium in the other room. So just to show you guys real quick, the other aquariums are doing well. We got the big old catfish hanging out here. The algae eaters are getting too big. Now that I moved my the pair that had paired off of the Nanochromis into that Cory tank, the other ones are coming out. The two females, they're looking for mates because the male's gone. They're also not intimidated. Now all the Ember Tetras are schooling because they have room to come out and school. But the gouramis are keeping them on their toes, as well as the algae eaters. So you can get more behavior. I mean, these are just typical ditherfish things. Also, the guppies are out and about, and they're moving around, motoring around. They're hungry, and they're not scared in the least. They've learned nothing's going to come up from the bottom and eat them. Nothing's going to come up from here and eat them. So fish do learn, too. Over in this tank, we got the CO2 flowing again, finally, the last few days. And look at the difference a few days makes. I mean, the color's always funky on a live stream. But hold on, let's see here. You can actually see the difference in this plant. The top of the plant versus the next rung down. Same with any of these plants. I mean, just incredible. And same with the density going on down in here of the carpeting. Um, Bonkers. So what you guys may not have seen was that these guys had ick last week. All I did to treat the ick was I turned up the thermostat to 86. It's been hovering between 85 and 87, which is very hot, but all the species in here are very tropical in the sense that we've got some citrus plecos, we've got what I like to call them the champagne pencilfish, but they're the Bickford's pencilfish. Also, check this out. Now that we've had the pencilfish in here a while, we can see definitely a female if I want to try to spawn them. So keeping them healthy, happy, definitely a female. See her color's a little more golden rather than peach or champagne. So if I wanted to separate them out and feed them some live food, I could start priming them psychologically. They don't seem to mind the brightness or the clarity of the water or the lines of sight. Whereas the sparkling gouramis, they live in kind of rice paddies and lily pad and fields that are flooded and things like that a lot of the year. So they feel safer hanging out down in between things generally. So that's probably where we're going to find them all, is tucked back in there. We've got 6 of them in here. So they're there. There's one in here. And because everyone always asks, these are Hydrocotyle verticillata. They are a moneywort plant, and they're like pennywort or moneywort. But I think they're Japanese, perhaps. They're not Japanese moneywort, though. That is a whole different thing. But yeah, so I just wanted to show you guys that. Then with the return of CO2, we turned both lights back on. Shorter hours in the day, so like 6 hours a day of light, but higher intensity. And then also we have algae forming again. You can start to see it forming. So that'll be something to keep an eye on in the long run. But I wanted to just keep you guys abridged of what's going on. I wanted to show you guys kind of hunting down the psychology of your favorite fish, or maybe a new fish that you never had before. And I hope that you guys had a good time. I hope that you learned a little something maybe, or that you'll teach yourself something. That's what's more important than anything I can teach you, is just that we all learn together where to find the info. What questions to be asking is more important than the answer to a specific question, oftentimes. So in any case, if you had a good time today, feel free to check out the links to support things. You're supporting just by watching and by participating. I appreciate you guys so much. And if you wanted any of the fish in my tanks, most of them came from Aquatic Arts. And they have different things in stock, who knows when, because you guys buy so much from them. But they are expanding 4 times the size that they were, so they should have a more stable stock soon. But thank you guys so much for such a great stream. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening and a great rest of your weekend. And I will talk to you guys later. Super chatters, thank you so much. Lurkers, you know I love you too. Those of you who joined also as the membership, thank you. It's reliable and it lets me keep doing this and giving it out to the people who can't afford it right now, who maybe, they can afford an internet bill and that's it. And I've been in that boat. I feel you. So no pressure if that's you and you can't spare anything, honestly. You just participating and helping other people who have questions, who are new, that's going to pay back, the karma in many fold. So, all right, you guys, you have a wonderful night, and take care. Also, like I said earlier, Audible, if you do want to try supporting the stream, just signing up kicks me $3, signing up for the trial. And then you can cancel it, and you get 2 free books. I'd read Dragon Behind the Glass. If you think murder and crime and arowanas and endangered species are cool, it's a really good one. I think it was New York Times reporter, that or Wall Street Journal reporter, that wrote it based on an article that is just insane. So yeah, But I'm done. Thank you for listening to my spiel, for the pandering and begging. You guys have a wonderful night. Take care, and I will talk to you later. Mods, thank you so much also, as always, 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 always. All right, guys, I'll talk to you. I'm foaming at the mouth. I either have rabies or I'm excited. You've excited me so much I caught rabies. So I will talk to you guys on Tuesday. Probably have a video coming out either Sunday or Monday. And also have a nature walk video where we did exactly what we did today in person in a little more detail about bogs, ponds, and streams in subtropic or temperate areas. So if that interests you, cool. If not, I understand. A lot of people don't care. And I feel you on that one. All right, take care, guys. Bye.